Welcome to Retro Skill Modelling. This is part 3 of Trumpeter's DKM U-boat Type 7C U552. Scale is 148. In this part, I'm going to be carrying on where I left in part 2, and that's building the first interior section of the sub. I've already built the side paneling wall and the torpedoes. So now it's time to carry on with that and build the ceiling of the interior and hopefully get onto the torpedo tubes. So let's jump into this and see how well I get on. The first thing to do is paint the base coats in. So it's Revel Aqua 76 light grey. I should point out, because I'm not going to list this colour all the time, this is going to be the main colour for the interior. So whenever you see the light grey colour, that's the colour I'm going to be using. Now, the instructions do actually call for the lighter grey that I painted the torpedoes in, but I wanted a contrast colour, so I went for that darker grey. And then it's Humbrol 110 natural wood for the roof beams. I don't know why these are in a wood colour, but that's what the instructions are calling for. It's only the hard edge of these as well. The side is still the dark grey colour. So again, I'm using the pencil method just to mark out the areas that are going to be having different parts placed onto it, as well as the pipe work and the cabling work that's moulded into the roof. As you can see, I've got the various components cut out and painted ready to go on for the roof, and I'll quickly go through the colours. It's Humbrol 156 dark camouflage grey. For the darker grey, it's 32 dark grey, and then it's 04 gloss white Revel aqua colour, and the last colour is Humbrol 19 bright red. So the grey colours is the 156, the darker grey is the 32 dark grey, the white is the white colour, and obviously the red is the red colour. So there's multiple parts here, but it's all fairly easy enough to assemble. There's a couple of little sub-assemblies to do first of all, and these are mostly just backing plates that are going on to the main unit, as you can see here. There's also a valve wheel having to go on, and it's going on this unit here. First of all, there's a little backing plate to go on. It was an okay fit. Could have been a little bit tighter, if I'm honest, but you're not really going to see it once it's in, so it doesn't really matter. The control valve wheel, the location point is very small for this, so you have to be quite careful when you're placing it in. It will tend to lean to one side, so you may have to hold it for a few minutes until it sets. Each part does have its own unique location point, and those are the areas that I've marked out in pen so that you can see that the camera can pick it up better there. And it's just a simple case of following the instructions and putting them in. I started at one end and worked my way down to the other end. I think it's better that way than trying just to do one section at a time and having to go back to another section because you've already got another part to be placed into there, as these instructions tend to do from time to time. So I'll start from one end and just work my way down. The instructions are quite clear on the locations for these parts anyway, so you shouldn't have too much of a problem. In fact, I'll just slightly fast forward this process. It does actually take a while to do because there is so many parts to them, but it's essentially just placing them each one into its location. As I said, you shouldn't have any difficulty with them whatsoever. Obviously dry fit if you're not sure, but because I've marked them out in the pencil outline, it makes it a lot easier to see. I don't often show this when I'm building models, but such a big build like this, I thought it was important to show these little steps that I tend to forget to show on the videos. Now you're undoubtedly going to damage a little bit of your paintwork while doing this as well, so just bear that in mind, and you will need to retouch your paintwork, especially if you build the way I do, as in pre-painting then building. I know a lot of people sometimes prefer just to place it all on then paint. Each to their own, either way works, but the way I do tend to now and again have to go back and repaint little areas, little compact contact points. Here I'm just painting in the handle of the fire extinguisher, and I'm using the dark grey colour for that. But by touching up the paintwork afterward, it brings everything back to life, and it actually is less painting down the line as well, and a lot less dry time also. So it's something to bear in mind if you decide to build the way I do. And now moving on to the loading area for the torpedoes. Now, first of all, there's one big main bed to be made up, and I'm just painting the grey colour into this. So you don't have to paint all of this, I should add. A lot of this will be covered up, but for peace of mind, I'm putting on a little bit more than really necessary. Also, I'm taking this opportunity while I've got the same colour out to paint in some of the black background colours. These are the loading tubes that I was just painting on the sprue there. That's just while I've got this paint out, because as I said, this is the main colour throughout the entirety of the interior. The loading rod I'm painting in Humbrol 32 dark grey. And the actual main house in itself is in the light grey colour, but the actual push rod is in the dark grey colour. And once that's dry, that gets placed onto the end of the platform. I can then place on 4 of the torpedoes. Now, I'm not sure how many you really need for it to go on. I don't know how many you're going to see once this is inside. So I'm just following it to instructions. But you may get away with only putting a couple on. If you're more versed in these sort of builds than I am, you probably know. But for this purpose, I just follow the instructions. On the underside, the bulkhead goes on. Now, you could put this on before you put the torpedoes on, but then the torpedoes wouldn't lay flat while this is on. So once the torpedoes were dry, I was able to put this on. The key is not to put too much pressure when you're clicking this into place, or you'll damage your torpedo. And once that's dry, the forward bulkhead goes on. This gets pushed through the rods. You can see the hole there. Just line up and push it through. You shouldn't have any problem here. It's a very loose fit. It just slides on, and it marries up really well with the loading platform itself. As I said, it fitted really well. If you're unsure, just leave it loose until it's time to install the whole thing. Then you can do your final cement that way. But I feel confident it'll be okay. It's just slightly not set there, so that's why it's just popped off. I got too eager and spun it around. But you can see it in situ as such. This is to make up the launch tubes. Now there's 4 of these to make up, and they're quite detailed. But as I said, there's 4, but there's 2 of each kind. So there's duplicates as such. So first of all are these smaller canisters, side panel things. I don't know what they're called. Have to be made up. I'm just taking away any of the excess spore bits that are left on after cutting away the sprue. Dry fitting, obviously, to make sure everything is nice and tight. And once I was happy with the dry fit, I cemented it before moving on to this side panel. This can really only go on one way. There is a running groove that it sits into. And the last thing I'm going to be doing for this part is placing in the torpedo into the tube. Now there's a little bit of chip in there. That's because I used the clamp too early. I didn't wait for the paint to dry 100%. The paint wasn't hardened, so it just chipped. But the torpedo is going to be completely covered, so that doesn't matter. I was in 2 minds whether to leave it, put the torpedo in, but as I said, because it's completely covered, but because I'm doing it to instructions, I decided to place it in. So if you haven't done so already, why don't you check out the channels for my other builds? If you subscribe to the channel, please do so. Make sure you hit the notification bell. That way you'll be kept up to date, not only with this build, but all my other builds as well, of course. Hit the like button, don't be afraid to leave a comment, and of course you can share the video. But for now, thank you all very much for watching. Bye bye.